Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this morning's presentation. My name is Kelly Smith. I am the Training and Outreach Coordinator for Kentucky SPIN. Kentucky SPIN is Kentucky Special Parent Involvement Network. We are the State Parent Training and Information Center for the state of Kentucky and have been since 1988. We're funded by the U.S. Department of Education under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and every state is legally required to have at least one parent training and information center, and we are the only one in the state of Kentucky. So when you call Kentucky SPIN, you are speaking to professionals, but we're also parents of individuals with disabilities. Or their immediate family members or individuals with disabilities themselves. And so, what we do in that capacity is we provide peer support to families with children with special needs, individuals with special needs, and the professionals that work with them. We also empower families to effectively advocate for their children and train young adults to effectively advocate for themselves, and then also help professionals learn how to advocate for that population. So, we do not act as attorneys, we do not give legal advice, but what we do is we just prepare those families, like I said before, and the individuals to effectively advocate for themselves. We will teach you what your legal options are and allow you to make those decisions on your own without advice from us, just so that you can make the best informed decision for your family. So today with us, we have Angie Casey from New Vista, and she's going to be talking about transition from early steps into, or first steps in Kentucky into preschool. Is that right, Angie? If you can hear me?
That's right. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to hand it over to you, and
Okay,
you just let me know if I'm not changing the slides fast enough, okay?
I will do. Thanks for manning the slides. Well, thank you all for joining me on this cold, miserable snow day, unless you're a snow person and this is your heaven. For me, I much rather would be at a beach. I'm sitting here with my fireplace on and my electric blanket in my lap, so I'm not a cold weather person. But thanks for joining me. I am Angie Casey, and I'm the point of entry manager for the Lincoln Trail and the Bluegrass points of entry here in Kentucky. So if you look at the map, we're right there, those two big districts right in the middle of Kentucky. We serve 25 counties. So in the Bluegrass region, we serve Fayette County and 16 other surrounding counties. And then in Lincoln Trail, we serve Hardin County, which is the Elizabethtown area, and then 7 other surrounding counties down there. At New Vista, we are, excuse me, the community mental health center for the Bluegrass area, and we provide substance use and prevention services. We provide mental health services, and then we also provide services for intellectuals with developmental disabilities. If you see there at the bottom, we have an 800 number, the 1-800-928-8000. It is a 24-hour helpline, and anybody can call that number if you have any questions about mental health services. If anyone is in a mental health or substance use crisis, you can call. There's somebody there that can answer the phone and answer your questions 24 hours. So I always like to point that out because that's a really good resource that we have at New Vista. All right. I've lost the slide. Okay, so my objectives for you guys today is I want you to kind of understand what to expect in your transition meeting when you're in the First Steps program, what to expect and anticipate during ARC meetings with the public preschool, and then some steps that we can take as parents to help ease both our anxiety and the anxiety of your children about going into the preschool program. Okay. So we know a lot of our families that we work with at First Steps, they do have some anxiety about sending their 3-year-old to preschool. 3-year-olds are still our little babies, and the idea of sending them to a big school can be a little intimidating and worrisome. So we want to be able to ease your anxiety about that by getting some questions answered. Getting your questions answered will hopefully help ease that a little bit. When you ease your concerns and your anxiety about preschool, this can also help your child, because if you're excited and positive about preschool, your child likely will be as well. So we hope that I can share some ideas with you how to do that today. Okay, if you're currently in the First Steps program, if your child is around the age of 2, it's no more than 9 months and no less than 90 days before your child's 3rd birthday, we will hold what we call a transition conference. So this is a First Steps meeting that will occur with one of your regular IFSP meetings. And this is a meeting to ensure that you do have a smooth and seamless transition out of early intervention, and that you're aware of all the options that are available to you after your child turns 3. So again, we can't have that meeting before 9 months before the 3rd birthday, and we can't have it less than 90 days. The reason for that timeline is school systems legally have 60 school days to determine your child's eligibility. And we all know that school days, they don't include snow days, they don't include fall break, spring break, summer break. So school days can quickly turn into several months. So that's why we hold those transition conferences so early. So with your permission, we will invite somebody from the local preschool to come to that transition meeting to be able to answer some questions. We can also invite other outside agencies if that's something that you're interested in learning more about. If you're interested in learning about Head Start, or maybe some private therapy clinics or private preschools or something like that that's in your county, we can invite as many different entities and agencies that you want to come to that meeting. So the purpose of this meeting is to get all of your questions answered so that you know about all the different programs in your county, so that you have enough time to make a good decision for what is best for you and your child and your family. So that's kind of the purpose of the transition meeting. Okay, so I recommend that for the transition meeting that you make a list of all the questions and concerns that you have about preschool or any of the other programs that are going to be represented at this meeting. If you're anything like me, if I go to the doctor, I'll have a list of questions in my mind that I want to ask him, and then when I'm in the middle of the exam and they're asking me questions, I completely forget about the questions that I had for them. So now I've learned to write my questions in my phone, and I have that ready, and that has worked out so much better. So I recommend that you make a list of questions to bring to your transition meeting. So these are some examples of things that you might have on your list, but you can have as many questions as you want, because we will make sure that we get all of your questions answered. So one of the first questions is, you might want to know, where's the preschool located? Some districts across the state have preschools in the elementary schools. Some have preschools that are combined with Head Start, and then some districts have standalone facilities. Like here, I live in Jessamine County, and in Jessamine County, we have the Early Learning Village, which is a standalone facility that only preschool and kindergartners attend. So there are no other grade levels of children there. It's just a standalone facility for preschool and kindergarten. So you want to kind of find out, what does preschool look like in your district? What are the hours of operation, and do they offer before and after school care? So some preschools, this is not mandated across the state what preschool looks like as far as hours of operation. So it's going to look very different. And even the schedule, a lot of times preschools don't start they'll start later into the school year. They don't start typically when the first day of school starts for each district. So you want to kind of find out that information as well. Some school districts have preschool that are half-day programs. Some have full-day programs. Some have programs that are 4 days a week, and some have that are 5 days a week. So you want to make sure you find out how many days a week are they going. If they have 2 sessions, if they have a morning session and an afternoon session, how did they decide which children go where? If one of those works better for you, do you have the option for requesting a morning session or an afternoon session? You want to find out what the classroom sizes and the staffing numbers look like. That can help ease your anxiety too, to know that, if the classroom size is small and they have they have a teacher and maybe several paraprofessionals and then some therapists that are in the classroom, it's going to ease your mind to know that your child is being well cared for. Find out what kind of meals that they serve. If it's a half-day program, do they serve just one meal or a snack? Do you need to prepare your own meal to send with your child, or are they going to provide that for you? Is it a district that provides transportation? Some districts do not provide transportation for preschool, so you would want to find that out as well. If they do provide transportation, to ease your mind a little bit, they require hand-to-hand transfer from you to your child. So there is no, they don't want preschoolers standing out at the bus stop by themselves. They want you to be holding their hand and to hand them over to the bus attendant that's going to help them get to their seat and get fastened into their harness. You want to find out, what are the options if I decide that preschool is not right for my child right now? Does the school offer any other options? Some school districts do offer some services that you can still have an individualized education plan for your child, and you can still go to the school to get services. For example, if you don't want your child to attend preschool right now, but they need speech therapy, that you could drive them to the school, see the speech therapist, and then take them home. So you would be there with them the whole time. This is not offered in every district, and it's not a state requirement, but some school districts do offer this. So you would want to ask if this is a district that has that as an option for me. Okay. Okay, at the transition meeting, you also want to make sure that you are informing the preschool representative about your child. This is your time to tell your family story and your child's story. If your child has specific needs, you want to find out, how can the school district address those needs? For example, if your child has a food allergy or medicines that they have to take every day, what's the policy for that? How can the school ensure you that your child's going to be safe if they attend the school? You also will be asked lots of questions and probably be asked to fill out some questionnaires about your child's development. So go ahead and start just observing your child's skills, whether it's taking notes yourself or just kind of mentally noting some things that your child can do or maybe has some difficulty with. And also you can talk to your First Steps providers about your child's skills. You can let them know that you're going to be meeting with a preschool representative soon, and what are some things that they would recommend that you bring up to the school as far as any needs or extra services or things that your child may benefit from. Okay. So after the transition meeting, so at the transition meeting, like I said before, you don't have to make a decision that day of what services that you want to take advantage of. But if you do decide that you want to pursue preschool, the next step is you will be invited to an ARC meeting. These meetings are held by the preschool staff, so these are not First Steps meetings, these are school system meetings. And you will have 2 different ARC meetings to determine before your child would start preschool. So the first meeting is the referral ARC meeting. So this meeting will happen while, both of these meetings should happen while your child is still in First Steps. So the referral ARC meeting, the team will review all the information that they have received from you and from First Steps, and then they will determine if any other testing is needed for eligibility. At this meeting, you'll have a chance to review your concerns about your child's development with the team, and also any concerns that you have about them attending preschool. You'll also get a chance to have the preschool coordinator and the team that's there to be able to answer any additional questions that you have. But really the referral ARC meeting is just finding out your concerns, the information that's on file, and making a plan for what is needed to determine eligibility for the school. So the next meeting would be the eligibility ARC meeting. So the eligibility meeting is where all of the evaluation results are reviewed with you and the rest of the team. And you will find out at that meeting if your child is eligible for public preschool. And then if they are eligible, what services are they eligible for? So are they going to be receiving preschool services and speech therapy, or preschool services and speech therapy and occupational therapy? How many times a week, and what's that going to look like? So this is where you're going to learn what services the school is going to be able to provide for you and your child. So in First Steps, we write that individualized family service plan, and in preschool, they write the individualized education plan. So the education plan it's very similar to an IFSP, but it is more geared towards how your child is going to perform in a classroom. So where in IFSP, we can also have some family outcomes. The IEP is all about your child. So there are no family outcomes. It's all your child's outcomes on that plan. At that meeting, again, you can get any more of your questions answered. I do recommend that if you're on the fence about preschool, I do recommend to go ahead and go through the eligibility IEP meeting, because if you have an IEP in place, that IEP is good for a year. And so even if you have that IEP written and then you decide, I want to decline services right now, the IEP is still standing. So if something happens with your situation and now you've decided that you would like your child to go to preschool, they have that place for your child and those services available. So you would be able to activate that IEP, if that makes sense. If you decline preschool and you don't go through that eligibility, then you won't have access to, you'll have to go through the whole eligibility thing before your child would be able to start school. We do recommend to go ahead and go through the IEP process, even if you're still on the fence. You still have the opportunity to change your mind if you don't want to start preschool after that plan is written. Okay, so the school is going to need some things from you. So recommend to start kind of putting this information together, because I know finding birth certificates can sometimes be a chore or a challenge, or if you haven't received one yet, you may have to order that from the state. So they will need a copy of your child's birth certificate. They will need medical records and immunizations. School districts usually will require vision and hearing screenings. Some districts will provide those screenings for you, and some require you to go get those. So that's another question that you would want to ask for the district. They also need your First Steps records, which your First Steps service coordinator should provide to them. And then if you have any outside First Steps private therapy records, so if you're getting private therapy in addition to First Steps, you would want to get those records to the school as well, because this is going to be helpful in determining your child's eligibility. Okay. So there are some things and some ideas that I've got for you today about things that you can do to make transition a little bit easier for your little one. So here we go. So first of all, we know that our little ones cannot always verbalize how they're feeling. So you're going to have to watch for those nonverbal messages from your kiddo. So some signs of stress or worry are regression. Could be regression in potty training. It could be regression in other skills. They may decide they now want you to feed them again, or they may ask for a bottle. They may act really withdrawn. They may do the opposite. They may be aggressive and start showing some aggressive behavior, or they may be very clingy. So anytime your child is changing kind of some things in their personality, that can be an indication that they are a little worried about something, and it could be the preschool that they're worried about. If we've been talking about that with them, this may be something that they are concerned about. The good news is, with the regression, with the potty training and the other regression that you might see, as soon as their anxiety is helped, they will return to the big boy or girl that they were before. The skills will come back really quickly. So don't get too concerned if you start seeing some regression with those things. So some things that you can do to help ease their anxiety is to get your child familiar with their new school. So you can take your child to the school, talk to them about it. You can show lots of excitement, schedule a tour of the school and the classroom, and allow your child to meet their teacher. You can ask the school if it's okay to go and play on the playground on the weekends. Some schools, the playground is wide open and you can go and play at the school. You do want to check before you go, because sometimes the schools will have the preschool playgrounds gated and locked. So we don't want to get our little ones excited about going and playing on a playground and then get there and it's locked. You also can ask the school and the teacher if they're comfortable with you taking pictures while you're on your tour. This is a really great idea, because you can take pictures of walking into the school, what it looks like, the office of the school, the halls, the classroom, the restrooms, and you can take those pictures and you can create a storybook with those pictures that you can read to your child every day. And so that school then becomes familiar, and it's no longer this scary unknown place, and it gives them a thing to kind of hold on to and help ease those anxieties and worries a little bit. Okay. So another thing that we can do is to practice. So find out during some of your meetings, what do the restrooms look like for our little ones? You know, they private restrooms or are they stalls? If they have the stalls, then you might want to start going out in public with your little one a little bit more. Going to restrooms in like fast food restaurants or stores where they're going to have that slide lock, and let your little one practice locking and unlocking those bathroom stalls. Carrying a tray of food, and if you find out that they have all of their meals in a cafeteria type setting and they're going to be expected to carry a tray to their table, you can practice carrying that tray of food to the table. If you don't have a tray at home, a perfect substitute for that is a cookie sheet. So at night when you're preparing meals, you can put their plate and their cup and everything on the cookie sheet and have them walk it over to the table to sit down and eat. Opening milk cartons or juice boxes or whatever that they have that you find out that they're going to be serving at your school. Being able to practice finding their name on their cubby or other things in the classroom. So you can start labeling their name on different things at your home so that they can start recognizing their name. Zipping or unzipping their coat or their jacket, and practicing hanging their coat or their backpack on a hook, because usually most cubbies will have a little hook on the inside that they can put all their stuff in. Another really nice thing is a lot, and I know with the pandemic, it's messed a lot of these things up, but a lot of public libraries have infant and toddler and preschool story times. And so going to the story hour at your local library is a good practice for your child to be able to sit in a circle and to be used to having someone else read stories to them other than you. So it's a good practice for sitting still, being quiet, paying attention. That's going to help them in their circle time at preschool. If your child's never been left with anyone, they've always been with you, it's probably a good idea to start letting some relatives and really close friends start keeping them for short periods of time. You might start off with something, if they've never been with a sitter before, maybe starting off with something as simple as 15 minutes, leaving them with a relative or a friend for 15 minutes and practice that, you know, mommy's going to go or daddy's going to go, but I'll be right back. And so they get used to that mommy's going to go or daddy's going to go. I'm going to have fun with this person, and then they're going to come back soon and get me. And then you can start increasing those amounts of time. So go from maybe 15 minutes to 30 minutes to an hour to 2 hours to half a day. And they just get used to, I'm going to have fun while they're gone, but I know that they're going to come back and get me. So that's a good thing to start practicing if they are not used to being away from you. Okay, a lot of our kids, we know that kids learn best from play, right? And so pretend play is a good way to help ease those anxieties and to also to find out how they're feeling about different things. So you can act out different preschool routines or scenarios. You can pretend play, and obviously it's you can have them decide if they want to pretend to be the student or if they want to pretend to be the teacher and you're the student. But you can have pretend play about saying goodbye and going into the classroom. You can pretend play practicing songs in your classroom setting. You can pretend play with story time or circle time. It's really super cute when you let your kiddo be the teacher and they are leading the story time and you're sitting in the circle listening to them. That is so cute, and they usually love that one. If your child's going to be riding the bus to preschool, you can take your kitchen chairs and line them up like bus seats, and you can practice riding the bus. And play, pretend play riding the bus and getting them excited about riding the bus. And while you're doing these pretend play activities, just continue to ask them how they're feeling about things. Like, and then if they're worried, like if they are afraid or scared, tell them how you felt when you went to school for the first day. Let them know that, mommy was nervous, or mommy was afraid when she was going to go to school the first day. But when I got there, I had so much fun and I realized I didn't have anything to be afraid about. So if they hear your positive experiences, they're going to start to feel positive about going to preschool as well. Okay. There are so many books about going to school or going to preschool. I pulled this list from the 0 to 3 website, which if you guys are not familiar with that, I've got that listed on the references at the end of this PowerPoint. But you can also just Google books about going to preschool or transition to preschool, and there are so many to choose from. But these are just a few, so you can start just reading some books about going to preschool, and that will help with the transition as well. Okay, as you're reading the preschool books, it's also, again, just talk about how they feel like the characters may be feeling in the book. Again, ask them how they're feeling and share how you're feeling. The more we talk about our feelings and your child's feelings, the less anxiety I think that they're going to have. Okay, there's some things that you can do about 2 weeks or maybe even a month before school starts. Going out and letting your child pick out their brand new backpack. There's nothing that makes a little one more proud and make them feel like such a big kid than going to pick out their first new backpack for school. I've never met a child that did not enjoy this. So let them pick it out, let them practice putting it on, let them help pack it. And, these are some things that we're going to have in your backpack for you so that they get familiar. And you can even start using this in your pretend play activities. Packing and unpacking a backpack would be a great pretend play activity. You want to label the backpack and any clothing, a change of clothing, and any other items that your child will be taking to preschool with your child's name and teacher's name with a permanent marker. We want to start changing that preschool school bedtime routine at least 2 weeks before school starts, maybe even a month or so more before. We want them to start that early bedtime and that early wake up time so that they can have that opportunity to be more successful at school. We don't want them to be so tired at preschool that they don't have the opportunity to learn and enjoy their time there. So start practicing that bedtime routine at least 2 weeks before school starts, possibly even earlier than that if you can swing that. You also want to make sure a couple weeks before school starts, contact that school health professional again about any medications or allergies or anything like that that your child may have, just so that to remind them and to find out what's the process for getting that medication to them. Are there additional forms that you need to complete? And just to make sure that they have that on their radar so that we don't have to worry about that on your first day. You also want to make really good first day drop-off or transportation plans. So if you know that you're going to be dropping your child off and picking your child up, you want to find out from the school, what do they offer? Do they allow you to actually walk your child into the preschool classroom? Do they allow you to stay for any amount of time? Is it okay for you to stay 10 or 15 minutes just to help ease them into the classroom? Some schools are really cool about this and they let that transition happen. Other schools, they want you to drop them off at the door. They don't want you to come in. And I know, especially with COVID, that has changed this for those folks that are having face-to-face class right now. I don't think that they're allowing the parents into the classrooms. So you just want to find out what the school's policy is on that. Also find out if your child is allowed to bring a comfort item. Are they allowed to bring a special picture or stuffed animal or something like that that they can keep with them that first couple of days at school? Again, that's a different policy for every school district. Also, if your child is going to be riding the bus, you definitely want to make sure that you find out, what's the bus schedule look like? What time do we need to be out? And I think most preschool buses do pick up at your child's home, at your home, so you don't have to walk any particular distance. So you want to find out, what does that bus transportation look like? Playing games that encourage sharing and turn taking, like Duck, Duck, Goose, building a block tower together. I'm going to put a piece on the tower and then you're going to put a piece on the tower, and we're going to keep taking turns. And then this time I'm going to knock it down, but the next tower you get to knock it down. Practice rolling a ball back and forth with each other. Musical chairs. These are all games that encourage that turn taking and sharing. And that will help your child be successful in school as well. Okay, anybody that's been on social media has seen all of the things that the preschool classroom teachers, the handshakes and things that they do with their preschool classrooms, but parents and guardians, they can do that as well. So sometimes that will help with the transition. You can have your own special song, you can have your own special handshake, you can have your own keep a kiss in your pocket, just whatever that you guys come up with together. But I found this when I was Googling trying to find a good ritual, and so I thought this was cute and I wanted to share this with you. Kelly, can we get some volume working on that?
I am sorry. Hold on just a second.
Okay.
Let's see. Hopefully
Well, I could probably just kind of explain about, I'm assuming that nobody else can hear this either, right?
Well, I'm so sorry. I don't know.
That's okay.
Let me change my monitor here and see if that changes anything.
That's okay. Well, Kelly, if you just leave it playing in the background, I can kind of explain what she was talking about. And then it'll show their special ritual that they do at the end. But she was just, okay. So she was just talking about, a lot of times when we have the drop-offs, we have sometimes children that will cry and cling to you and they don't want you to leave. And then she kind of came up on this this ritual organically, I guess. And she just started singing supercalifragilisticexpialidocious to her child. And then that turned into something that they call a super hug. And so every day when she drops her child off to preschool, they do what's called a super hug. And so you'll be able to see that she goes into the classroom, they do a little activity together, and then she says, it's time for our super hug. And then she's going to act out and show you guys what the super hug looks like. But it just is kind of, here we go. So right here, she's singing one little verse of supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and then that's it. So it's just something that's super quick, and they do it the same way every day, and it's something that her child looks forward to. And so you can make up your own, whether it's a handshake or a hug or a song, and just make that be a little special goodbye that you do. And mom might have her own special handshake and dad might have his own special handshake. So it's just something that's kind of cute. I know a lot of people know the little trick about kissing the palm of their hand and letting them put it in their pocket so they can keep a kiss from you with them all day. So these are just some ideas of some different goodbye rituals and routines that will help make that transition from you leaving them to their preschool classroom go a little bit smoother. I'm sorry that we didn't get that audio, but it was a cute little super hug that they did there.
And I just wanted to let everyone know that you will be receiving a copy of this presentation in your email this afternoon, and that link is on there for you, so you can go back and watch that.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay. So we want you to know at First Steps, your service coordinator, we're here to help. So be sure to reach out to your service coordinator or your service providers for more ideas to help with the transition go smoothly, or to answer any questions that you have. If we don't know the answers, we can find somebody to get those answers. Your service coordinators work really hard to make everything go smoothly for you, as well as the public preschool. I mean, everybody is here with your best interest and your child's best interest at heart, and we want to make sure that it's a good, smooth, seamless transition for both you and your child. So be sure to lean on not only your service coordinator, but the preschool coordinator or the preschool teacher, whoever is in charge of your child's IEP at the school. Also wanted to point this out, the Kentucky Governor's Early Childhood Office for Early Childhood created these parent guides. And so when you were in First Steps, you should have received one of these when you first enrolled. They have one for birth to 3, and then they have one, a 3 and 4-year-old one as well. But this has some good activities that you can do with your child to help get your child ready for school and for school success. So if you no longer have a copy or have not received a copy, be sure to ask your service coordinator for a new one because there's some really great information in these parent guides as well. And I think that is the end of my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have about First Steps or transition to preschool or preschool. I'll answer them to the best of my ability.
All right. I'm sorry, we do have one question.
Okay.
And I just wanted to let everyone know that to your right on your screen, on your control panel, you should have a questions box or a chat box with a drop down where you can go in and type any questions if you have them. If you don't have one of those boxes, feel free to email us. And then also, like I said, you will receive a copy of this presentation, and Angie's email address is on this slide. So the question we have is, if a child struggles with behavioral challenges, development and safety concerns, etc., is it possible for them to get a one-on-one aid in preschool?
And I think that is something that is possible, but it depends on the school district and the data that they have to support that need. So I think, again, that's where all of the information that you have to take to the school system to be able to show them, you know, the concerns that you have. A lot of times it's something that they won't necessarily put on the first plan if it's a behavioral concern, but it may be something that's added later on. So I think that's definitely something that you would want to discuss at the eligibility or referral ARC meeting because the school district will be able to answer what they have available to help you a little bit better. But it is something that is possible.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The next question is, do you have any additional advice for easing parents' minds during the transition to preschool, especially those parents of children with special needs?
Yes, and I know that if it eases your mind a little bit, is the preschool teachers that are in the public preschools. They all have certifications in IECE, which is Interdisciplinary Early Childhood Development and Early Childhood Special Education. So they are extremely trained in order to work with children of all abilities and specifically working with children who may have some more needs. So I recommend reaching out maybe to other families if you have support groups, depending on, like, if I know that DSAC is the Down Syndrome Association of Kentucky is a really great support group. Reaching out to other parents and finding out about their experiences in preschool hopefully can ease your mind a little bit. And really just, again, taking all of your questions and concerns to those meetings, because I guarantee you those teachers and those IEP team members have experienced a lot of different children and probably can ease your mind with their experience and the ideas that they have to solve the questions and concerns that you have.
I think that's very comforting to know that they do have that special instruction. So thank you. I think probably a lot of parents aren't aware of that.
Yes.
Um, okay, so the last question I see is if my child receives speech, OT, or PT services, which is occupational therapy or physical therapy services through First Steps, are they going to continue receiving those services in preschool?
I wish I had a good solid answer for you. That it just depends on what outcomes those services were trying to meet in First Steps. So you've got to remember in preschool, it's going to be more focused towards your child in the classroom, where in First Steps, it was your child's classroom is basically your home, your natural environment. So if the physical therapy or the occupational therapy services that they were getting are for outcomes that really aren't outcomes that would be related to the classroom, they probably would not get those services in school. But if that's something that you know ahead of time, like when you're having these ARC meetings early enough, then you can reach out to your service coordinator and let them know, I feel like my child still needs OT or PT, but the school system says that, they're not providing that service. Then your service coordinator can help connect you to other resources outside of school and where you can continue to get those services. But if those services are needed to help your child be successful in the classroom, then they would provide those services.
Perfect. I think that's a great answer.
Okay.
And so I don't see any other questions. So thank you, Angie, for being on with us today. It is very much appreciated. At the end of this presentation on this PowerPoint, you're going to see the references that she talked about. So you will have those available to you. And you can contact us at Kentucky Spin or Angie directly, and we will answer any questions that you have if you think of any later, or if I happen to have missed any. Please complete our evaluation. It should pop up when this window is closed. If not, it will be in the follow-up email. We really, really count on those evaluations to help make our webinars and our services better for you. I also wanted to add that every Tuesday, Kentucky Spin has Tuesday Tips. It's a webinar from 11 to 12 o'clock on all kinds of different topics. We also have weekly webinars on Thursdays on all sorts of topics. And just remember that we're all here for you to support you in whatever capacity we can. So, Angie, thank you again.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
And I think this presentation was phenomenal. I would have loved to have had something like this 20 something years ago when my son was transitioning from First Steps. Just to kind of, I think it was put in such plain language and very easy to understand. So I, as a parent, am grateful for the information.
Well, thanks. I'm glad it's helpful.
Well, thank you all very much for getting out a little bit early, and we hope to see you again soon. Have a good day.
Too.